For the better part of probably 5 years now, Krista has been regarded by any serious player as basically the worst hero in the game that's not named Zeri. And while she does have a couple of niche use cases on offense, especially whenever you're seeing the Lyria-Ishmael combo, she is just bad. She's bad by herself because she needs Lars to be effective. And this update, this rework, and the addition of Cascade is exactly what this hero needed. For people that love Krista, this is your opportunity. I'm excited for you.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
What is up, heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero War Central, and in today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about Krista, the water mage satyr. A lot of people think that she's an elf. She is not. She's a satyr. She has hooves. And her pairing with Lars and the new hero coming to Hero Wars Dominion era, Cascade. I'm allowed to talk about it now that it has kind of been revealed, although I am not 100% certain that that's actually the case. We'll deal with that in just a little bit. First and foremost, Krista is a mage that relied heavily on Lars. And she relied on Lars for two reasons. First and foremost, her attacks barely did any damage. Like, she just didn't do that much. Her ultimate was good, and she added these watermarks to enemies, which were debuffed by Sebastian. We were removed by Sebastian, effectively nullifying a big part of her kit. The damage to heroes with watermarks didn't even come from Krista. It came from Lars. None of Krista's abilities are modified by watermarks. They add watermarks, like this green ability right here, reducing their magic defense and applying a mark of water. Frozen Needles applies a mark of water to all enemies. And then Crystallization is her ice block ability that blocks damage. And by the way, this is incredibly effective against Ishmael. Really, really, really strong ability against Ishmael. And anybody that does a ton of heavy frontline damage. You know, Dante is another good example. But I think Ishmael, Lyria, I think you're going to see Krista being used to counter that team a little bit more. I have been playing around a little bit with the idea of leveling up Krista and Lars in order to counter, these teams. Having more options to counter these teams is always better. So I can use like Amira and Heidi and whatever elsewhere. But I already have Polaris, Celeste, and Thea pretty heavily leveled. Leveling up Lars and Krista isn't that far off, although that's just another mage, and neither Lars nor Krista are in any of the good Maestro teams or the good Osh teams. So it's kind of a waste. It's kind of an inefficient hero or hero pairing to level. But the real king here is Lars. First and foremost, you have more watermarks being applied here. Whatever. Extra damage, enemy prioritized with the Mark of Water, and then the conductance. All of Lars' attacks against enemies with the Mark of Water deal more damage and stun them for a longer period of time. This is one thing. Like, he actually is the one that does the damage to heroes with watermarks. So that's part of why you needed Lars with Krista, but also the magic penetration artifact weapon. A lot of the same reason why Orion and Helios were paired together for so long. Now that Augustus is here, it's a different kind of combination altogether. But Krista has almost no magic penetration at all. If you look at her max magic penetrations at 3490, that's nothing. So she needed magic penetration artifact hero like Lars or Arachne or Faceless or one of the other many ones that provided magic penetration in order for her to do any kind of damage. Well, that seems to be fixed here. First and foremost, she is getting a shiny new skin, greatly increasing her magic penetration, so don't sleep on that. I like that. I like that she's actually going to be able to be a little self-sufficient. So she's getting her ascension skills, which is good. This is how you balance out heroes that are underused. You give them their ascension skills, right? First and foremost, all allied heroes heal for 50% of the magic damage they deal whenever they strike enemies affected by marks of water. So all heroes, Krista included, can now benefit from marks of water being on the enemy. Additionally, marks of water are no longer considered a negative effect. They cannot be blocked or cleansed by Sebastian, Nebula, or Celeste. And this is a big deal. The mark of water that she applies isn't the only mark in the game. We also have Satori, who adds Foxfire marks. I don't think that Satori is being modified here. We have one kind of mark in the game that can be blocked by Sebastian, Foxfire marks. And by the way, Aster and Lucas also applies the Tracker's mark to enemies, causing stuns. Aster and Lucas, another great counter to Ishmael, by the way. If you're looking for counters to Ishmael, Krista, good one. Astrid and Lucas, also a good counter to Ishmael. So the Sebastian, Ode to Serenity, Nebula, Celeste, all of those heroes that can remove debuffs will still be able to stop Tracker's Mark and Satori's Foxfire Mark, but apparently not the Mark of Water anymore. We'll have to see what the difference is there. We'll explore that a little bit more when this does go live on September 12th. And then the second Ascension ability, whenever her ice block ends, it bursts, damaging all nearby enemies. So if you watch, just about every time that she takes a hit from Ishmael, she goes into ice block, which means she can't take damage for a few seconds, and she can't take higher damage than a set percentage before it's stopped and she switches into her ice block. So you can see almost every single basic auto attack that Ishmael does, whether he's boosted by Nebula, Sebastian, Jet, Fafnir, or whatever, basically every time Ishmael auto attacks her, she goes into ice block and preventing the damage, causing a little bit of delay to the fight. But now she's going to be basically bursting, damaging all nearby enemies. This is going to be doing a lot of magic damage and healing, by the way, if they have a Mark of Water, to enemies' front line. So Lyria, Ishmael, any enemy in the front line, she's going to be super effective at dealing damage to and gaining healing back from when that ice block ends. It's great. It's great survivability. Survivability was never Krista's issue. It was always, what is she actually doing in a fight, right? So Marks of Water are no longer considered negative effects. That's one thing. Chains of Ice, the magic defense reduction here is going to be doubled. That's pretty good. It's showing low here because it's modified by magic attack. Actually, let me show you the ability on. Here we go. So the maxed is, so it's going to reduce a little over 17,000 magic defense now. That's pretty good. That's really good. It lasts 8 seconds and it takes 12 seconds to cool down. So, roughly half of the entire fight, a little bit less than half of the entire fight, magic defense is going to be reduced on the entire, in the center of the enemy team, which is where Augustus dumps his magic defense reduction stuff also, by the way. So I can see Krista, Augustus doing some kind of work there. Maybe Krista, Augustus, Orion, something in there, maybe. We'll see how it goes. All that's well and good. And then you can see it down here in the very bottom. All these changes make Krista far more effective on her own, even deadlier when paired with other heroes who use Mark of Water, like Lars, and our next upcoming hero that might be familiar to some of you. Now, a lot of speculation is that Cascade is the hero that's coming to Hero Wars Dominion Era. Cascade's been in Hero Wars Alliance for a little while, and he is definitely a water-based hero. So his ultimate, unleashes a heavy downpour, damaging enemies each second for 4 seconds, and they get a status effect depending on their main stat. So, and again, this is Hero Wars mobile skills. They will be different on Facebook and web. Slightly, maybe exactly the same, but just different numbers. But usually the skills on Alliance aren't the same as the skills on Dominion Era. So keep that in mind as we're talking about this here. So if Strength is the main stat, Cascade deals physical damage, decreasing armor and magic defense. If Agility is the main stat, like Dante or Ishmael, for example, deals magic damage, blinding the target, right? So they can't hit. And then intelligence-based heroes, like mages and stuff like that, deals physical damage and silencing. So we have a lot of control effects here. No watermarks, but a lot of control, a lot of low damage. 8% physical attack modifier is not a lot. It's not a lot. So Tidal Wave crashes through the enemy lines, dealing magic damage and knocking back enemies, right? The knockback is more effective against nearby enemies. Reaching the end of the dash, Cascade returns at the same range as the original distance, right? So just a little damage attack to hit everybody. This is magic damage that's modified by physical attack. Kind of an interesting skill there. Cascade's blue ability is where it starts to get really kind of wordy, all right? And this is where the watermarks come into play here. Right. After casting Tidal Wave, that's the rush forward and the rush back, applies the sodden armor status effect on enemies hit. And I'm assuming the sodden armor is going to be changed to Mark of Water. That's my assumption. So whenever Cascade does this ability, Marks of Water will be applied to all enemies, which will then play into Lars's abilities, Krista's Ascension, healing ability, all of that. The effect lasts for 8 seconds. Whenever the afflicted enemy takes damage, it deals extra damage of the same type. So whenever those enemies take physical damage, they take extra physical damage, or when they take magic damage, they take extra magic damage, right? So you can start to see where that will play into, Krista and Lars applying those Marks of Water, increasing the damage output, increasing the effectiveness of all of the attacks, whether it's physical or magic damage, because Cascade, by the way, is an agility hero on Hero Wars Mobile, Hero Wars Alliance. And then it talks about the mystery hero. There's the wave mystery is the factions. There's no factions on Facebook and web, so we can kind of skip that. Now, this ability is the very difficult one. The magic penetration is always equal to his armor penetration, right? So no matter what Cascade's armor or magic penetration is, they're both going to be equal. So any ability like an artifact weapon to an ally that increases magic penetration, that will also increase Cascade's armor penetration, all right? The type of damage from Cascade's basic attack, his basic auto attack, changes with the target's defense stats. If the target's armor is greater, then they will take magic damage, and if not, they will take physical damage. So he will always Cascade will always prioritize the damage type that is most effective for his basic attacks. So if the enemy has high armor, he will do magic damage for his auto attacks. If the enemy has high magic defense, he will do physical damage instead. So he's always going to take advantage of the lower of the two defenses that the enemy has. So this is a very strong ability, unless you're going up against Isaac, of course, but we'll talk about that whenever Cascade does get added to the game. Very interesting ability. And then there's more. If the hero's basic attack penetrates the target's armor or magic defense, right, fully penetrating that damage, right, the target will also take the other type of damage as an extra attack. So you can see here, plus 20% is what I've got here, but I think it gets higher. I think it gets higher as I level up Cascade. So you do the basic attack, and it does 1,000 damage. And then if you fully penetrate the enemy's defense with magic or armor or whatever from up here, right, because you're always hitting the lower of the enemy defenses, then you're going to do an extra 200 damage, right? 20% of 1,000 is 200. So easy math, very straightforward, very straightforward. The target will also take the other type of damage in an extra attack. If the extra attack penetrates the associated defense, the target also takes pure damage. So you have this stacking ability that does more and more damage as the enemy gets lower. So Augustus, again, I can see being very good. Any hero that does penetration artifact weapons, magic or physical, is going to be good for Cascade. But obviously, you're going to be wanting to pair him with Cascade. Now there is a fun running joke with me and my community that Cascade and Polaris, I can't seem to tell them apart. So if I've said Polaris at all during this video, I apologize. But let me know in the comment section down below, how do you feel about Cascade? What do you think? No big anime furry, huge assets drawn here. This is just a good, nicely artwork. The art design for Cascade is great. I believe Cascade is actually the son of Hyperion and somebody else. I can't remember who. But Baby Titan, if you will, in hero form. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Krista. Have you been using Krista at all? If you've been wasting your effort on her because you just love her, then now it's time for all that to pay off. We will be live streaming today, 12 p.m. Central Time. That is 5 p.m. UTC. I can't wait to see all of you there. We're going to talk about all of this a lot more. I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.